Writing ratio as a fraction. In today's topic, we're going to look at what is a rate. So a rate is just a special ratio. A rate are used to compare two different kinds of quantities, whereas a ratio compares same quantities. In the last section, we talked about the ratio of, like, an example of $15 to $10. $15 to $10 would be the same quantity. But if we had a ratio with two different quantities, then that would be called a rate. So for example, a rate would be 3 miles in 33 minutes. There are two quantities. One is miles and the other one is minutes. One is distance, the other is time. So two different quantities, and therefore it is called a rate. So if we have this as a rate, we can express this rate as 3 miles over 33 minutes. And we can simplify the fraction 3 and 33. Both are divisible by 3. So 3 divided by 3 will give us 1. 33 divided by 3 gives us 11. The mile and the minute will remain. One way to understand this rate is I can run 1 mile in 11 minutes. 1 mile in 11 minutes. So 1 mile per 11 minutes. Here are some examples of rate that perhaps you have encountered before but didn't really know that it's a rate. Say if you see a price on a gallon of apple juice, $7 per $7 last gallon. That would be a rate because the way how they wrote it, it means $7 per 1 gallon. So two different quantities. $2.39 for 8 boxes, or $4 and 4.23 ounce per box. All right, so two different quantities. One of them is ounce, the other one is the number of boxes. Our goal is to reduce a rate, to write a rate as the simplest fraction, simplest form. So consider our first example, $210 for 5 days. In other words, if you stay in a hotel for 5 days, you could spend $210 to stay for 5 days. So to understand, to reduce this rate into the simplest form, we first write the rate as a fraction. So $210 over 5 days. Notice that there are two different quantities, money and the number of days, time. So we can reduce the number of the 5 and the 210. They're both divisible by 5. So 5 divided by 5 gives us 1 day. 210 divided by 5. 5 goes into 210 42 times. Alright, so it comes out to be $42 over 1 day, and that is the simplest form. One way to interpret this is $42 per day. So you're paying $42 per day, and in 5 days you would be paying $210. Very good. Alright, so say if you drove 360 miles away, say to Las Vegas, and it took 16 gallons of gasoline. Write this as a rate in fraction form and simplify it. So you go 360 mile over 16 gallon. Alright, so now 360 and 16 are both divisible by 8. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 16 by 8. 8 will go into 16 twice. And then I'm going to keep the G for gallon. Divide that by 8. 8 does 8 go into that? 8 goes into 36 4 times. and then so you get 45 miles. So 45 miles per 2 gallon. 45 miles over 2 gallon. That means that you can drive 45 miles in if you have 2 gallons worth of gas. So that's the rate, that's in simplest form. Now, in example 1, we notice that the denominator contains the number 1. In example 2, denominator contains the number 2. If your rate can be reduced where the denominator contains 1 unit, then we call that a unit rate. A unit rate. A rate with a denominator of 1. So this right here would be, has a denominator of 1. This value right here would be a unit rate. Alright? Alright, so a very simple example of a unit rate is something that you've seen almost every day. If you're driving on the road and you read the speed sign, you will see unit rate, but you might not know that that's a unit rate, and it might read as 55 miles per hour. This means that it's 55 miles per 1 hour, or if you want to write that in per class. Per means 1, so in 1 class. 11 feet per minute, you can climb 11 feet per minute. So 11 feet per minute, every time you hear the word per, it means 1, and that refers to a unit rate. Alright, so given any rate, we can always turn any rate into a unit rate. So say if you made 31,500 in every 7 months, how much do you make per month? That's the question. And if we look for the unit rate, we will be able to determine how much you make per month. So first, go ahead and write 31,500. Divide that by 7 months. Alright. So to turn this into a unit rate, we need this to be a 1. So we need to divide 7 by itself. 7 divided by 7 is 1, so 1 month. And we also need to divide the numerator by 7, because whatever you do to the bottom, you also must do to the top. So I'm going to divide 31,500 by 7. So I'll do the work on the side. So I'm working with this. So 31,500 divided by 7. 7 goes into 31. 4 times 7 is 28. Subtract, you have a remainder of 3. Bring down the 5. 7 goes into 5. 35. 5 times 7 is 35. Subtract, you have a remainder of 0. And if we have zeros, the shortcut is to just bring these zeros up. Alright, so it turns out that you have 4,500. 4,500. So in other words, you make $4,500 per month. There you go. So you turn it into a unit rate. You turn this rate into a unit rate. Right, as a unit rate, we travel 337 miles, 337.5 miles every 15 gallon. So once again, 337.5 mile over 15 gallons. So I know that, or we know that as a unit rate, the denominator has to be a 1. So I divide 15 by itself, which gives me 1. And I also have to divide 337.5 by 15 because whatever you do to the bottom, you have to also do to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do the work over here. 15 goes on the outside, 337.5. 15 goes into 33 twice. 2 times 15 is 30. Subtract, I have a remainder of 3. Bring down the 7. 15 goes into 37 twice. 30 again. I have a remainder of 7. And I bring down the 5. And then 15 goes into 75, 35 times. 5 times. So 5 times 15, 75. Subtract, I have a remainder of 0. So it's 22.5 miles. Alright, so if your car has a tank that's 15 gallons and after driving till the tank's empty, you realize that you have traveled 337.5 miles, then you can use unit rate to determine how much gas you're getting per gallon. So 22.5 miles per gallon. Alright, an automobile rental agency charges $170 for 5 days. What is the unit price in dollars per day? So this is how much you pay for a week worth of car rental. How much are they charging you per day? So you go 170 over 5 days. Alright, and then you just have to divide. So that becomes, if I divide 5 by 5, I get 1. If I divide that by 5, I am gonna get 34. So it's $34 per day. You're paying $34 per day. All right. Last examples. Approximate each unit price to decide which is a better buy. Is it better to buy, there's 2 bags of chips. One of them is the 11 ounce that costs $2.32, and there's a bigger bag of 16 ounce that costs a little bit more. So is it better to buy this bag or is it better to buy the smaller bag? Which bag is cheaper in terms of the content? So what we do is we look at the unit rate of each bag. So looking at the unit rate of the first bag, unit rate, okay, $2.32 over 11 ounce. I'm going to save some time by using a calculator to determine the unit rate for each one by taking 2.32, divide that by 11. It comes out to be 21 cents. So it's about, with rounding of course, so it's 21 cents per 1 ounce. So each ounce I'm paying 21 cents. Let's do the same thing over here. Looking at the unit rate for the second bag, $3.59, and then I got 16 ounce. I'm going to go ahead and take $3.59, divide that by 16 ounce. It turns out that I am paying 22 cents per 1 ounce of the bigger bag. So which is a better buy? The 11 ounce for $2.32 is a better buy because you actually save 1 cent off of every ounce. So 11 ounce for $2.32 is a better buy. I will see you in the next lesson.